For those who are new or unfamiliar with my content, I would like to give a disclaimer. Slow Damage has an extremely self-destructive main character, and his nonchalant comments about his lack of concern for himself does trigger my nervous laughter. If you'd like to view my content that covers darker and triggering subjects like this one, please consume it responsibly and know that this content is not for minors. I want to emphasize that if you experience any of the severe symptoms that Toa does, I highly encourage that you seek professional help rather than view this playthrough. Good evening and welcome back to Slow Damage, part 10. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Last time, we finished Taku's route, which put me on a wild journey, as you guys saw. So I'm excited to start up on our next boy, which has to be REI, right? So, we're gonna. This part is probably gonna be a little shorter. The intro to REI's story is probably gonna be a bit shorter, just because this game is very different from other Night Torture games. So, we're gonna have to do a little bit of legwork. So we're gonna have to start. We're gonna have to start a little frisky. So we're gonna have to go visit our friend, Ikuina. We're gonna have to go back and give it a try. So when I edit this, we're gonna see if I can just kind of cut this phrase part, unless there's some stuff that we did not see beforehand because we are changing the route. So we're gonna do what we gotta do. All right, so bear with me. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for joining me again today. Let's go and party with REI, kids. All right, Lena, are y'all ready? Let's go, kids. Ikuina wasn't too bad. He was just another artiste, you know? Go ahead. Give me more. Give me all you've got. Welcome to REI's Route, everybody. Let's go. I was craving booze, so I pulled on my coat and left the clinic. I had some bottles at my place, but I wanted a change of pace, so I headed to Roost. This was my first step outdoors in weeks, and my legs were sluggish. Cold night air nipped at my face, and it felt good. During the day, the warm air hung low over the city, but the nights were always crisp. As I approached the downtown area, foot traffic began to increase. The city was decked out in Christmas decorations, and classic songs played over the loudspeakers. Everyone who walked by was all smiles and laughter, the Christmas spirit at work, I guess. Then I spotted a kid clinging to a store display window, tugging on his mom's hand and begging for something. He pointed to a big teddy bear sitting on the windowsill. The sight made me avert my eye. For whatever reason, I didn't feel comfortable about it. Aside from the cold weather, I hated the month of December. I couldn't explain why, but it repulsed me. As I hastened my pace, I noticed someone curled up in a ball in a narrow side alley. I couldn't tell if they were alive, but given the season, it wouldn't surprise me if they were dead. For most people, particularly those who lived on the mainland, Christmas was a time of love and hope and joy. But Shinkomi was different. Each year, as the temperatures got steadily colder and colder, deaths among the homeless population began to skyrocket. But Shinkomi didn't care about unidentified corpses. They had worse crimes to be dealing with. Fortunately, the city was originally built on a landfill, so there was no shortage of places to dump body. These days, a lot of them were dumped in District A in a sea of debris caused by sinkholes. This kind of thing was always on the news, but it was so normalized by this point that nobody cared anymore. Sure, everybody was probably scared at first, but after you lived in it for a while, you would inevitably adapt. In Shinkomi, you could step over a corpse and not even notice. Oof. Oof. Every time still, I'm just like... Arriving at Roost, I opened the door and walked in.
いらっしゃい。
いらっしゃい.
とは。
It's me, baby! As soon as Ray realized it was me, his customer service smile shifted into concern.
大丈夫？ああ。
I headed to the counter and sat down.
いらっしゃい、トワ君。
The manager called out to me from behind the counter.
久しぶりだね。何にする？
ウイスキー、ロックで。
With a nod, he fetched a glass and a bottle of whiskey. While I waited for my drink, I lit a cigarette. Exhaling lightly, I shot a glance around the bar. Among all the regulars in attendance, I spotted a single unfamiliar face sitting at the very end of the counter. But before I could get a better look, Ray walked over. There weren't many customers today, so he was probably bored.
もう出歩いても平気なの？あ
あ。
Then my glass of whiskey arrived.
本当に？っていうか、ちゃんとご飯食べた？
Every time. He doesn't eat, Ray. He doesn't eat.
本当？何食べた？
The interrogation. It was obvious he didn't believe me for a second. The look on his face said he expected to catch me in a lie.
カレーパン。
I pinched the cigarette between my fingers and took a sip of whiskey. He's like, I don't believe you. He stared at me suspiciously. To escape his gaze, I turned and faced forward. There was a laugh behind the counter, and I looked over.
いや、ごめんごめん。レイ君があまりにもトワ君を疑うから面白くて。
Calm down. Calm down, manager. It's not that
だって
funny.
店長も知ってるでしょ？とあったら、絵を描いてるときは本当に飲まず食わずになっちゃうんだもの。
でもトワ君、うちのナッツ好きでしょ？
Do you?
まあ。
The manager looked at me with an impish grin, so I played along. As far as snacks went, I liked nuts a fair amount. He grabbed the tin of nuts off the shelf, poured some onto a little plate, and set it in front of me.
はい。今回の絵もとっても良かったよ。
It is. That painting's real good.
写
The
真
face painting
もう
is
ブ
so
ログに
good.
載ってるわよ。見た？
いや、
よかったらまた現物を持ってきてほしいな。店に飾りたいから。
Work.
あ
私が持ってくるわね。
I didn't care about my paintings after I finished them, so I shrugged and ate my nuts. Sorry.
絵を描き上げた記念
I'm trying not to
に
laugh.
その一杯は私がおごるわ。
Drink is on me. Ray pointed to my glass and grinned mischievously.
一杯だけ。
I smirked back and he scowled.
一杯で十分でしょう。この酔っ払い。
He's like, one is fine.
冗談だよ。
Silly. I grabbed my glass, toasted Ray, and took a sip.
あれだ。トウは来てたの？
Who this?
最近見なかったわね。
Oh, these guys.
そういえば久しぶり。
Oh, my besties, my besties. I turned to find Ray's friends sitting at a table nearby, waving at me. Oh, it's the friends. Okay. I love them. They're so good. Their names were Junko, Honami, and Arata. Junko worked primarily as a nurse at the clinic and occasionally took shifts here at Roost. The other two worked mainly at Roost while helping the clinic on the side, like Ray. They were also Ray's deathmatch buddies. Love that. But today, they were here as paying customers.
また絵を描いてたんでしょ？ブログ見たわよ。
Work.
私も見たわ。今回もとっても素敵だったわね。
I nodded vaguely as they gushed amongst themselves, then took a drag of my cigarette.
絵が素敵なのはいいんだけど、どうすればトアがもっとご飯を食べるようになると思う？本当に最低限しか食べないのよ。
Ray. He's so sweet. Ray muttered with a sigh.
そりゃだって見るからに食べないって感じするじゃない？
This
って
character's
いうか
being.
今何か
Look
食べて
at
なかった？ナッツ？
this character is me. Look at him.
ナッツ？やだ、トマって意外と意識高い系。モデルがよく食べてるわよね。
Is that supposed to be like a wink wonk? Like ha 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 hee 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 ha ha? Like the nuts.
トアとモデルが一緒とか絶対ないでしょ。
Oh, Ray cracks me up, you know. So I'm excited to play his route to know more about him.
ないない、やだ。
They're so cute. I ignored their blissfully ignorant conversation and sipped my whiskey.
そうだレイ、今度腕に光る角をつけたいんだけど、できる？
いいわよ。
さすがボディアーティスト。いつもありがとね。
どういたしまして。希望の色とか形とか他にも何かあったらまとめておいてね。あとは都合のいい日を教えて。
Party.
オッケー。
Okie doke.
光る角ってちょっと面白そうね。私もこの間両手の小指の爪をマグネットネイルにしたんだけど、光り物も興味あるわ。マグネットネイル
Oh,
って
okay.
爪を磁石にして何かいいことあるの？砂に指突っ込むと砂鉄が集まるわよ。
Oh my god.
何よそれ、意味あるの？
I like that. I like that thought process. It's like you'll pick up the good stuff if you put your hands in sand.
レイ、
Money.
私スカリフィケーションをやってみたいんだけど、お願いできるかな？
This guy looks kind of like Lisa, right?
いいわよ。どこに入れたいの？
鎖骨の下とか。
Under something. He's just like
じ
anywhere.
ゃあネックレスみたいに綺麗な模様にするのはどうかしら。
That would
何か
actually
希望があ
look
ったら
kind of
教えてね。
cool. Thinking about it.
新たがスカリフィケーションをしたがるなんてちょっと意外ね。
You never know. You never know.
そう？
そうね。
ボディーアートには興味ないのかと思ってたわ。
ただのタトゥーじゃつまらないから、どうせなら思いっきりやってみようかなって。
He said it's not edgy enough.
いいじゃない、そういうの私は好きよ。
ねえ、トワはやらないの？ボディーアート。
The topic of conversation shifted to me, and I looked over my shoulder at them.
興味ない。
He's like, I'm busy.
トアの体はもう十分アートみたいなもの
Yeah,
じゃない。
exactly. I was like, he's got a lot going on.
確かにそうよね。傷跡だらけの体って一種の芸術だと思うわ、私。
Yeah, if only you knew.
トワっていつからそんな体なの？
A long time.
覚えてない。
そもそもトワっていくつだっけ？
How old are you?
多分26。
Oh, that's right. He doesn't remember.
あら、一番下の妹と同い年だ。
あんた何人兄弟なのよ。
3人よ。私が一番上。
トワって兄弟いるの？
Toa don't know nothing. No. Ray sucked in a breath. I turned back to the counter and exhaled a cloud of cigarette smoke.
妹がいる。
Toa has a sister? Nani? Hello? Based on the route, he has a sibling or does not have a sibling?
そうなんだ。妹さんはどうしてるの？
She did.
俺がガキの頃に病死した。
Yikes. Oh boy. The instant I answered, the chair evaporated from the table and they all fell silent.
無神経なこと聞いちゃって。ごめんね。
Poor thing.
別に気にしてない。
Okay, it's fine. But the awkward tension remained.
ほらほら、本人も気にしないって言ってるし。ね。
Oh, bless his little heart. Ray exclaimed in a tone of forced cheer, looking around the table at everyone. I told Ray about my sister at some point in the past. My memories of my family were really fuzzy, so all I remembered was that I was sad when she died. These days, she almost felt like a stranger.
みんな暗くならないで飲んで飲んで。
Get drunk,
もう
get
年
drunk!
末なんだし、悲しい気分は飲んで忘れなきゃ。
Ray's like, so anyway, alcohol.
そうね。飲みましょう。もうすぐクリスマスパーティーもあるし、浮かれながら新年まで突っ走るのよ。
Oh, man. How awkward.
ね。
Poor Arata. Arata seemed to feel guilty for making everything awkward. They smiled stiffly and nodded. From there, Ray casually changed the subject to something else, and the table regained its energy. As I sipped my drink, I glanced over at the other end of the counter. The unfamiliar visitor I spotted earlier had already left. Then I made eye contact with the manager behind the counter. He shot a pointed glance over at Ray's table, then grinned and shrugged. I nodded in response, then downed the rest of my drink. Ah, there we go. More bodies on the streets! I can't. I can't. Okay, back to the clinic. After I had a little too much to drink at Roost, I headed back to the clinic. The bar was usually open until 5 a.m., but since there wasn't many customers, they opted to close early. As I walked in through the front door, I found Taku sitting in the waiting room and drinking a can of coffee.
おかえり。どうだ、体の調子は。
How am I feeling?
平気。
Fine. That's how we're feeling.
そうか。一応怪我の具合だけ見せてくれ。
Just in case. He was referring to the injuries I sustained during Ikulina's euphoric episode, which weren't fully healed. The two of us entered the exam room, where I pulled off my shirt and hopped onto the exam table. Taku stooped down, scrutinized each laceration, then began
順
treatment.
調だな。痛みは？
痛いっていうより痛がゆい。
治ってきてる証拠だな。もしまた痛みが出るようなら言えよ。
ああ。
He moved away from the exam table. I sat up and started to get dressed. But just then, I heard the front door fly open with a bang.
なんだ
What was that, indeed? Taku promptly walked out into the hall. Likewise, I hopped off the exam table and followed after him. Back in the waiting room, we found Rei with a man's arm slung over his shoulders.
レイ、その人はどうしたんだ
帰る途中で拾っちゃった。
I found some stranger on the way home. Oh boy. He smiled stiffly.
大怪我してるみたいだったからどうしても無視できなくて。
Oh boy. The man's clothes were ragged and he was bleeding all over.
とりあえず診察室へ連れて行け
Let's go.
わかったわ。とは手伝ってくれるって。
Oh. As soon as Ray laid eyes on me, he scowled dubiously.
あんたなんで上脱いでるの？
He was getting looked at,
怪
Ray.
我の診察
As I spoke, I walked over to him. Human bodies, guys in particular, could be pretty heavy with when their owner wasn't pulling any of the weight. It took a lot of strength to carry a grown man. It's true. I used to be a dancer. We learned this. Because when you do lifts, you have to lift with the person, otherwise you're making it harder on them. I grabbed the guy's other arm and put it around my shoulder. Then, matching my pace with Ray's, I helped him get the guy to the exam room. Oh boy. Fortunately, the man was conscious. After examining him, we took him to the medical ward, where Taku performed first aid. The guy had no birth certificate and no insurance, but this wasn't uncommon here in Shinkomi. Thus, most of the hospitals were willing to accept uninsured patients, and our clinic was no exception. The man, named Mizuno, told us he was jumped by a group of guys who beat him senseless. Ray had found him collapsed on the sidewalk while walking home from Roost. Since Ray looked like he had everything under control, I leaned back against the wall and watched from a distance. Mizuno's smoke was a pale forest green, nothing special in terms of color. Normally, I'd never even give him a passing glance.
処置はこれで終わりですが、もし具合が悪いようなら休んでいってもいいですよ。
いえ、家に帰ります。
He's cute.
わかりました。一応薬を出しておきますね。どこか痛むとか何か気になることがあったら、またいつでも来てください。
はい。
He nodded meekly.
発見した時は死んでるのかと思ってびっくりしたけど、なんとかなってよかったわ。あの時は正直死を覚悟してました。ありがとうございました。
His voice actor sounds
Ray
extremely
って呼んでちょうだい。
familiar. Ray?
はい、レイさん。
He bowed politely, then looked over at me. His eyes widened, in response to my innumerable scars, or simply because I was underdressed. I wasn't sure.
あ、そいつはトアね。この病院の極つぶしよ。
Pet mooch, excuse me? Ray, you can't just be telling people that. You can't just be telling strangers that. You know what I mean?
働いてるけど
Exactly.
遅刻と欠勤の常習犯じゃない。てか服着なさいよ。水野さんが引いてるでしょ。ああ、いえ、そんなことは。
It's not like
おい
that.
おい、患者さんの前で喧嘩はやめてくれよ。
Yeah, please. Hold it together, y'all. At this, Mizuno started to shake his head, but winced.
俺のことは気にせず。
Oh, poor thing.
しばらくはちょっとした振動でも怪我に響いちゃうから気をつけてね。
Yeah, he got his booty whooped.
はい。お笑い番組はしばらく見ない方が良さそうですね。
He's funny too. His lips twisted halfway into a smile, the farthest he could get with his injuries.
帰りは一人で大丈夫？
Are you?
はい。骨も折れてなかったし、なんとか帰れると思います。
Sir. As he slowly lowered himself off the exam table, Ray rushed in to help.
それじゃ本当にありがとうございました。お会計は。
Hey, he was jacked up.
こっちよ。
He held the door open, and Mizuno tottered after him.
気をつけてな。
ありがとうございました。
Arigatou gozaimashita. Mizuno briefly inclined his head in Taku's direction, glanced at me, then left the room.
暴行ね
Kinda sus. Taku folded his arms and sighed quietly.
え。最近集団リンチみたいなのが流行ってるらしい
Ooh,
な。
that's never good.
そんなの前からいくらでもあっただろ。
Uh-huh.
いや、噂じゃ同じグループが繰り返し犯行を重ねてるらしい。
Ooh,
集団で一人を襲って寄ってたかって暴行するんだそうだ。
not a good sign.
あいつもその被害者ってことか。
確定はできんが可能性はゼロじゃない。まあ確かにこの町
Yeah, I
で
was
暴
gonna
力沙
say,
汰な
I
ん
was
て
just like,
珍しくもなんともな
isn't
い
it
からな。
like
実際のところはわから
just
ん。
one of those, you know what I'm saying? He gave me a defeated shrug. Just then, Ray returned from handling Mizuno's bill.
水野さん、一人で大丈夫かしら。
I too wonder this, my
大丈夫だ
child.
ろ
He'll be okay. He'll be alright.
だといいんだけど。
He kept his cheek in his hand and
う。
sighed.
何か気になるのか。
ん？水野さんってすごくいい人そうじゃない？だから新公民にいたらいろいろと危険が多そうだなって。
Ray said he's too good for this
いくら
world.
治安が悪いと言われていても観光客は相変わらず来るし若者だって増えているからな
Why you say it like that?
そうね。
He nodded, though he didn't seem fully convinced. Then he remembered something and frowned.
ところでタク、ちょっと気になったんだけど、
Uh-oh, questions.
診察室の机の上、あまりにも汚すぎない？
Ooh,
書類は適当に置いてあるし、ペンとかハサミとか散らばってるし。
ooh, ooh, ooh. He is scolding a homie. Taku rubbed the back of his neck with a wry grimace.
患者さんが見たら、何この先生って思われるわよ。
確かにそうだな。後で片付けておくよ。
I love this family dynamic
不思
we
議
got
よ
here.
ね。タクってトアの部屋は定期的に片付けるくせに、どうして自分の机はほったらかし
It's
にするのかし
different,
ら。
Ray. You know, it's a lot easier to like help the homie out. It's a lot harder to help myself.
よくあるだろ。人のことは気になるけど、自分には
Yeah, I
戻
know,
っちゃう
Taku. I played your route.
あれだ。
I know. Like, I know.
自分で言わないでよね。
Ray scoffed at Taku for a moment, but was interrupted by a sudden yawn. Hastily, he covered his mouth with one hand.
やだ、もう3時じゃない。そろそろ帰りましょう。
Bless his heart.
だな。お前も部屋に戻れよ。
ああ、
I grabbed my shirt and coat off the floor and left the room. Slow damage. Oh boy. Alright, let's read a few more and then I think we'll call it good for today. Again, it'll make it really short, but you know, we've got plenty of time. I woke right as the clinic's lunch break was coming to an end, then carried out my morning routine to the sound of TV chatter. I was scheduled to work that afternoon, so I actually woke up precisely on time for a change. As I washed my face in the bathroom, I overheard the robotic voice of the newscaster.
昨夜未明、男性が倒れていると新興未署へ通報があり、警察官が駆けつけたところ、男性は重傷で、複数の男たちから暴行を受けたと供述しており、
As my ears picked up on bits and pieces, Mizuno came to mind. According to Taku, there was some lynch mob going around committing crimes for the fun of it. But Shinkomi saw dozens of similar cases on a daily basis. For all we knew, the culprits behind this news story could be entirely unrelated. I walked from the bathroom to the fridge, pulled out a bottle of booze, and had my breakfast for the day. Booze and cereal. The cold alcohol cleared the fog from my sleepy brain. After that, I got dressed and headed downstairs. Lunch break wasn't quite over yet, but Arimura was already seated behind the reception counter. Technically, he wasn't scheduled to work today. Clearly, he had expected me to miss my shift. Absolutely no faith in me whatsoever. Begrudgingly, he switched places with me. Right as I was settling in to endure the coming hours of mind-numbing boredom, I heard loud footsteps from down the hall, and moments later, Ray came running into the waiting room. He leaned over the counter and spoke under his breath.
新たが運ばれてきたの。裏口の方に来てるから。
Whoa. Panicked, he raced back down the hall. I'd already taken care of all the patients in the waiting room, so I left the reception counter and headed to the medical ward. Inside, I found Arata lying on a bed while Taku performed first aid and Ray assisted him. Meanwhile, Igarashi was standing a short distance away, watching. Igarashi?
Ah, Tho-san.
Hey bestie, what's up? He smiled awkwardly and inclined his head in greeting.
俺が新さん見つけたんです。用事があって近道しようと路地に入ったら、新さんが倒れてて。
Okay, Arata is they, them. And then I think the other two are she? I believe, yeah. Okay.
新さんがレイさんの友達ってことは知ってたんで、すぐに電話して。
Yeah.
それでって感じです。
Good boy. He shot a worried look at Arata, who lay there with their eyes closed, probably unconscious. With those bruises and cuts on their androgynous face, I could scarcely recognize them.
応急の処置はしたが、内臓に損傷があるかもしれない。念のためにうちじゃなくてもっと大きい病院で見てもらった方がいいかもしれんな。
Oh boy. Once his work was done, Taku fixed Ray with a hard look.
鷹の口医院へ連絡してみるわ。
頼む。
The other homies. Pursing his lips, Ray nodded and rushed out of the room.
昨日に引き続き今日もか。
Oh boy.
参ったな。
It's sussy. Taku sighed loudly and rubbed the back of his hand.
昨日も何かあったんすか？
集団で暴行されたっていう怪我人が運ばれてきたんだ。
マジっすか？それって。
Yeah, jump. Just then, the door flew open, interrupting him. At first, I figured it was Ray, so naturally I was startled to see who it actually was.
迎えに来たぞ、
五
五十嵐。
トワだ。イェーイ。お邪魔します。
What are y'all doing here? Kotaro, Mayu? Why am I not? Kotaro, Mayu, and Eiji all walked in.
なんだ。でかいのが揃いも揃って。
Yeah, why y'all here? Taku squinted sternly at the surprise visitor.
でかいのはこの二人だけですけどね。村瀬先生、すみません。五十嵐君となかなか連絡が取れなくて、ようやくつながったと思ったらここにいるって聞いて、そしたら小太郎さんが迎えに行くって言い出しちゃって。
俺が行くって言ったら行くんだよ。なんか文句あるか？
Oh gosh, these guys.
んで、五十嵐、道に人が落ちてたから拾っちゃった？
As it goes.
そうなんすよ。すっごい怪我してたから、こりゃほっといたらまずいなって思って。
It's true, it's true.
徳でも積んでんのかてめえは。ほっときゃいいだろうが。
Can you calm down? Calm down. It's not that deep. Kotaro strode to the bed and leered down at Arata.
ああ、ずいぶんひどくやられたな。これ、あれだろ？今流行ってる暴行大好きグループだろ。
Yeah.
流行ってる？
Taku squinted dubiously. That was when Ray walked in. He saw us all gathered there and
さっ
grimaced.
き受付で電話してた時にあんたたちが入ってくるの見たけど部屋が狭く感じるわね。
They're trying to get Igarashi back, man.
この部屋が実はすっごく小さいって可能性は？
Work?
ないわよ。
No.
暴行グループの話詳しく聞かせてくれ。
おう。
Kotaro nodded, then looked at Eiji.
え、僕ですか？まあいいですけど、最近集団リンチを暴行パーティーと称して人を襲って回ってるグループがいるんです。
Assault party.
喧嘩ならデスマッチエリアでやればいいのにって感じなんですけど、どうも一般人を狙うみたいで。
Ew, that's gross.
まさしく弱い者いじめってやつですよ。ネットじゃストレス溜まりまくりのハプレスチルドレンがやってるって結構話題になってます。
暴行パーティーってのは
ああ、それはですね、マニア向けの SNS がありまして、ルーストに似てるっていうか、いわゆる異常性欲者とか人の肉が食べたいとか、そういう人たちが集まってるんですけど。
He ain't wrong, he ain't wrong.
ルーストのコンセプトは大敗的な美よ。そこまでダイレクトじゃないわよ。
He's like, first of all.
なるほど、一緒にしちゃってすみません。まあその SNS で少し前からずっと集団リンチを匂わせるような書き込みをしてるやつがいるんです。
Girl.
そいつが暴行パーティーって言葉を使ってて、
Assault
犯人の
party.
一人なんじゃないかって言われてます。
Oh boy.
たまに暴行の開催予告みたいなものも書き込まれるんです。今のところは全部嘘でしたけど。
I'm just like,
一応警察も動いてはいます。でもここ新興味ですし、これが本土の方だったらもっと騒ぎになってると思います。まあ警察は置いておくとしても SNS の管理者が独自のサーバーを立てて運営してるみたいなんで、特定も規制も難しいみたいです。
Sussy, sussy.
そいつらが新をやったってこと？
可能性としては高いでしょうね。
Ooh, hapless children.
その SNS 教えて。
Ooh. Ray leaned forward and stared at Eiji.
わかりました。後で送ります。
Let's go.
ありがとう。
五十嵐、もうお前はここにいなくたっていいんだろ？ならとっとと行くぞ。
Let's go. Kotaro bus.
はい。
お前榊さんに締められるからな。覚悟しとけよ。
うっす。
Igarashi slumped his shoulders, but Kotaro gave him a pat on the back.
それじゃあね。おいじゃん。
See you later, bestie.
お邪魔しました。
And so the three stooges left with Igarashi in tow. For a moment, all was quiet. Then Taku folded his arms and
暴
sighed.
行パーティーか。やっぱり昨日の水野さんも同じグループにやられたのかもな。
そうね。まだわからないけど。
まったく近頃の若者の考えてることは俺にはさっぱりだよ。
You can tell Taku's so old now. He shook his head sadly.
でもさっきのエイジの話、犯人を割り出すきっかけにはなりそうね。
Let's see what we can discover.
まさか仕返しするつもりじゃないだろうな。
Is that in Ray?
しないわよ。これ以上の被害が出ないように周りにも注意喚起しておきたいだけ。
These guys are too cleanly.
新たがこんなことになっちゃったんだもの。
Search deep down
い
inside.
つどこで誰がまた襲われるかわからないわ。
He ain't wrong.
まあそりゃそうなんだわな。そういや鷹の口の方はどうだった？
受け入れ可能だそうよ。救急車で搬送してもらいましょう。
Oh, bless. Ray quietly approached Harada as they slept.
思わぬ来客もあったから長引いたな。診察を再開しよう。
Back to your ball and
受付に戻っ
chain.
てくれ。
Back to your ball and chain.
わかった。
With a nod, I left the medical ward. Okay. We're gonna... Just in case... Okay, we're... Okay. Oops. No. Alright, well... that is the beginning of, well, the preset of Rei's route, because we gotta do the chapter 2 version of Rei's route. So it's looking pretty interesting so far. And I actually, that blonde character, I did see, I'm pretty sure I did see a CG of him sitting next to Toa at the Roost Bar. So I was like, ooh, interesting. But alright, this looks like it's gonna be a time. Rei is very fundamentally different than Taku, so I can only imagine what it is we will be bussin'. So, alright. Thank you guys again for joining me. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay well. Keep on smooching. Don't forget my podcast, You Can Smooch Tho, a podcast about all things boys love and other related items, is available on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. Season 1 is up and complete, and we will be delivering Season 2 to you later this year. Once again, take care of yourselves, stay well, have a good night, and I'll see you guys next time. Night night!